Hello and welcome to Valorication Yoga. My name is Valerie. Today we are going to practice a floor-based flow that will be really great for your shoulders and create some space, overall space in your body. You just need 2 blocks and a blanket for this practice. And we are going to start on our backs with a support under the head, probably your blanket, but maybe 1 block. You're gonna have 1 block nearby, so you're gonna wanna need that too as we start this beautiful practice. So start with your back flat and the shoulders relax down along your side. You might wiggle or move a little just to find those special places to rest into. And then have your feet at hip distance with your knees in line with your hips. We're gonna lift up the right foot and just start to take some circles of that hip. And as you circle the hip, I want you to notice how those circles feel. And if you feel them not just on the right side, but also toward the left side. And then let's reverse those circles here. And then bringing the leg back to center, take the ankle and rest it just above your left knee. You start to take some rocking motion side to side with the legs. Just be careful about how far you go. Really, a rule of thumb here is we'll go just as far as it feels okay in your body. And if there's pain or pressure, we'll stay away from those places to start and see if they open up with the practice. As you come back into center, pause for a moment. Choice of keeping the left foot down or lifting it up and checking into the outer hip and glute. And then resting the foot down and resting the right foot down. Before we go to the other side, grab onto one of your blocks. Place that block between the thighs. Give it a little bit of a squeeze. And then press down into your feet to lift your hips. Then lower your hips down. Taking 3 more with your breath, or simply moving and breathing independently. Have about 1 more here. And then rest the hips down, take the block away, set it over to the side. Let's go over to that left side. So lifting up your left foot and take some circles of the hip. And just as a reminder, we're looking at that left hip, bringing some awareness there, but knowing that the right hip being connected may move or change. And then reverse that direction, feeling there. From here, we'll take the left ankle above the right knee and gently start to rock the leg side to side. And again, no expectations. This side could feel very different than the right side. And let your breath be full as you're here. And pause in the center, option to lift the foot and draw the legs in closer toward the chest. Make sure you're breathing deeply, and then lower that foot down and lower your left foot down. Beautiful, Actually, I'll have us try a technique first and then we'll bring that technique in together. So we'll start with the right side. We're going to tip into the outside edge of your right foot. Keep the left foot grounded, even if you need to place your hand on your thigh to keep it there. And then gently rock the right leg back. Sole of the foot down. Now let's try that again. So your right arm, by the way, can be along your side or out to the right because it just might feel like you want to stretch there. Okay? So don't be afraid to move things around so that it fits your needs. Wonderful, let's switch to the left side. So we might place the right hand on the right thigh to keep it steady and open the left leg out toward the left and back into center. Here, yeah. You're gonna soften anything else that can soften. Shoulders will be heavy, jaws relaxed. Doing your best to keep those places relaxed and at ease. Beautiful, 1 more on that left side. And we are going to alternate. So you're gonna take that right leg out to the right, come back to center, and then left leg out to the left and back to center. Remember your feet are down, soles of the feet are still on the earth here. Just really nice and slow side to side. No rush. This is your time to explore and check in with your hips. Just making sure the breath is present and full. Wonderful. End on that left side. And next time you come out to center, start to bring your soles of your feet together. Guide your heels either closer to the pelvis or further away, and let the legs get heavy. You might even take each one of your blocks and place them under your legs. And that's for anyone who feels like the legs are going further than you had expected or wanted. Place one hand on the belly and one hand on the heart. And let's take 3 breaths together. Deep breath in and long breath out. Breath in. Breath out. And in. Longest breath out. And let the hands come back down along your side. Gently coax the legs back up through center here. And hug the knees in toward the chest. We'll give the hips and the low back a little love here as we circle the legs around. And reverse that direction. Wonderful. Then placing your feet down on your mat once more, grab onto your block again. We will lift up our hips and slide that block underneath the hips. So you're resting almost like a restorative bridge pose. Arms are along your side. You can tuck your chin in slightly and then give a little wiggle of your right foot forward. So the toes are still pointing forward even if the knee is bent. And then if you can extend all the way, then you'll point the toes up. You see I have some length here along the front of the hip as I go, getting into the psoas and hip flexors. Breathe deep into the belly. That helps us get around the psoas here, which kind of gets really close in toward the navel and belly and the internal body. And then next inhale, just press and pull your heel so you can bring your foot back up. We'll take that on the other side and start to inchworm that left. As you come to your degree of comfort, the foot could be down or the heel could be down with the toes up. And again, you're breathing into the front of the hip here, right? Just making sure that that right leg doesn't wing out. We want it to knee to stay straight up so it supports this work we're doing. And the shoulders are just nice and heavy and back. And next inhale, draw the heel in. Knees are bent. Nicely done. And then from here, lift both legs up. So you've got that block underneath you, but the knees are bent in almost a chair position with the heels and the knees lined up and the knees and the hips lined up. At this point, the core is doing a little more work than it would have if your hips were down on the mat. You're going to flex into your right heel and just tap the heel down toward the floor and back up. 3 more of those. You don't have to necessarily tap down 2. And 1. So you see I'm tapping about half or 3/4 of the way. Other side, flex into your left ankle, tap down and lift up. Tap down and lift. Now if it feels okay to tap all the way, go ahead. My lower back is just telling me it's not a good idea today to do it, but it could change depending on when you practice. Beautiful. Legs up a wall after you get into that chair position. So just press your heels up, flex into both ankles, get a bit of a stretch up the legs here, and then bend into the knees to bring your feet down either together or one at a time. You're lifting your hips up and sliding that block out of the way. And again, hugging the knees into the chest just to give a degree of width or release or relief to the hips. Come on over to your side. Press on up to find your seats. And then as you find your seat, you might find you want to sit on a blanket, in which case slide one under and sit up on it. Okay. Cross-legged or legs extended, nice tall spine, shoulders in line with your hips. Let's just move the upper body in big sweeping circles here. So anytime we're working the hips, I also want to work around the ribs. And I want to work the sides of the body, right? So coming into the opposite direction here. And then take a moment here to pause for a moment, feeling into what you feel. So we'll take a moment's pause for a bit of meditation and connection, and then move on to movements that might help relax or release the hips. So feeling the energy beginning to pull down into the hips and allowing for space around the fronts and the backs and the sides of the hips, like the glutes and the low back. You're noticing any hugging or holding in there. You're relaxing those places, softening anything that you can soften, and allowing your breath to expand in those places that have softened. As you settle in, the breath begins to get a bit more clear. The mind gets to shift from thinking to feeling. And we get those glimpses of our internal world that start to come into play. In this internal world, external influences are not a part of that work. So we get to check in with ourselves, knowing we're still here despite our day-to-day. And giving this another breath. Let the exhale get longer. And then open the eyes if the eyes were closed. Let's come into a tabletop position of the body. Add a blanket under the knees if you'd like a little more softness under the knees. And keep those blocks in your bag as we'll use them again. And as you come into your tabletop position, you're just going to start to shift weight from one knee to the other. The spine's pretty neutral here, so if you have curves of the spine, they're going to stay curves, right? We're not tucking anything in. And then come back into center. Start to swish the hips side to side. So in essence, we're pulling our weight into the outer hip and then switching that to the other hip. And then beginning to take some circles of the hips. Kind of feeling the connections around the joints and anything snap, crackle, and pop that can happen. No pain, of course. Reverse the direction of that movement. This is where we might use some blocks under our hands. So if you're using blocks, you can use them in any position, high, low, or medium. So bring your blocks on over to the left. You're going to step your right foot outside of both blocks. Keep your hands on your blocks and rock your hips forward and back. And I'm getting a sense of the front and the back of the hips and maybe even that right hamstring. And placing the blocks on their lowest positions, or a little further down, but you have more space for your hands. You're going to bring more weight into the hands. Lift the right foot, kick the heel back, and then kick your foot all the way back here, opening the hip up. And then bring the knee in toward the outside of the body, the waist, the elbow, and step it forward again. Let's try that again. Kicking it back, opening hip, and forward. We're going to try that a couple of times. You could bring your blocks to second position if that feels better. This is one up from where we are at now. Then next time you have that foot placed, placing that foot down, bring your right hand down to the inside of the right foot on your block, lift up and reach. So you're coming into this big stretch in the body, fingertips to fingertips. Breathing deeply as you're here. Beautifully done as we unwind. And then walk the hands back on either side of the right leg. Lift the toes, the heel is down. And then lift about halfway so the shoulders draw back and the spine gets nice and long. From here, we fold over that leg. And breathe deeply so your breath can open up space around the hamstrings. Let's give this another deep breath. And then very gently lift on up. Hug the knee in, step it back. And before we go to the other side, let's take a couple of cat-cows. So place your hands under your shoulders. Cat-cows are a lovely way to rinse out work. Right, so you're not holding in or getting something stuck in the body. We're allowing things to move around the body and hopefully out through that movement. Try one more. And then let's find our way to the other side. We have our blocks in front of us now. Over to the right. You're stepping your left foot outside of both of those blocks. And then from here, you're rocking forward and back. So give yourself as much space as you need in this. It can be important to honor your space in your own body every time you come to practice. We come to practice in a number of different ways. So this class you could take again and again, and you might feel different each time. Okay, pause in the center. If you're using those blocks, you're going to bring them down to that lowest position again, or second. I'll show you second in case you're curious. If you're taking the second position, you're going to wrap your hands around the outer blocks a little bit. So pinky and thumb will wrap. And then again, we're going to lift that leg up. Now it's the left. Kick it back. Press the heel back. And then draw the elbow in and over again and gently place the foot down. Two more just like that. And next time that foot is down on the floor there, you're going to start to walk the blocks back. Extend that leg out in front of you, lifting the toes, lifting the chest slightly so you have some space, and then folding forward into that space. Make sure the shoulders stay away from the ears. Next inhale, we're lifting up the knee, walking the hands back to the inside and stepping the foot back. Coming into your child's pose, so knees together or knees wide, walking the hands forward to your degree. And sometimes my degree are hands or forearms, so I'm working on relaxing the hips back. I might even rock a little side to side to get into the hips a bit more. You can choose this method or fold all the way down to the floor. And inhale to lift on up from here, finding our way back to our tabletop. We'll start to work the front of the hips again, walking the knees back. You can tuck the toes if you'd like to as you slide the hips back. Come into a very angry cat with the spine, and then slowly shift the hips forward and down as you look up, round through the spine, hips back as you tuck the toes. And then take that again a couple of times. Beautiful, coming back into your tabletop position. We're going to just take a look over the left shoulder, draw the left hip in that direction, take a pause, and then right side, and pause. And back to center, plug down with the hands and the fingers, tuck into the toes, lift the hips up and back. Here we come into a downward facing dog. If downward dog isn't right for you, you can take some more cat-cows or take a moment in a child's pose if you like. And then let's bend one knee deeply, then the other. Coming back down into table. We'll swish the feet to one side and then extend the legs out in front. As you extend the legs out in front, grab onto a block. You can place the block between the feet and hug the feet into the block. So the legs are really, really strong. Get nice and long in through the spine and reach the arms out and forward. Maybe you catch the block. Maybe the hands are on the legs or at the toes. You could bend the knees if you want to here as well, if you're working into more of the hinge than the extension. Let's give this another breath. Wonderful, lifting on up. Now keep the block between the feet. You're gonna inch your way down, bend into the knees, so do your best to hold that block in there. If you're sitting on a blanket, that might come out of the way or become a pillow for your head. So just kind of shift it back behind you. And then from here, we're gonna come down on the back. So round the spine, let your arms support you if that's better. Let your head come down and be supported if you'd like. And you're gonna press into the block and begin to extend the legs up toward the ceiling. So keep on pressing. Bend back into the knees and lower your feet back down to the floor. So if you feel like the block needs to be in another position, you can reposition it anytime, all right? So hugging on in, hug the block, extend the legs up toward the ceiling, and then bend into the knees again and bring your feet down. And we'll do that 2 more times. So again, offering a little time for the core to help support the health of the hips and the low back. This next time when you extend the legs, just reach up, grab that block, set it over to the side, hug the knees into the chest, independent hip circles. Couple times in one direction, couple times in the opposite direction. Wonderful, place the feet down, hip distance. You'll lift your right foot, cross it on over toward the left, and then you might readjust so that that left foot is more centered. Think the heel in line with the sacrum, and then hug the legs in toward the chest. Stay here with the arms at the side or rest your hands on your legs, giving just a gentle assist downward with the shoulders also relaxed downward. We want really nice full breath here, so allow the space for that breath, right? We know we're breathing in and out. Yes, beautiful. And then release the legs, feet come down, unwind. And then when I call rewind, right, we're gonna have the left leg on top of the right. Again, you wanna position the right foot more centered and then hug in, stay as is, or cross and hug the legs in closer. Everything nice and heavy here, breath deep. Wonderful, release the legs back down, unwind, and extend the legs or add a blanket under the knees if you need some added support. We're gonna reach the arms up and overhead and just get that beautiful stretch. And then pretend you're climbing a mountain or a ladder. Just reach one hand up a little higher than the other. Maybe you're moving the feet around with that. Wonderful. Let's come on over to our side to rock and roll up, your choice, and find your way back to your most comfortable seat. If you're interested in relaxing into the quads, it can be helpful to stack a couple of blocks and sit on those blocks with your feet back and your knees together. That can help to relax the area in the front of the hips. And for some of us, that external rotation is not always comfortable. This could be a great solution for that. So we're resting the hands anywhere you'd like, lap our hearts, close the eyes, and coming into your breath, So following this brief practice where you offered space and strength around the hips, you're taking this moment to connect back with yourself, to your breath. And just knowing that anything that came out of the movements was a benefit to you. And so as you can be reassured of that, you can allow the breath to flow and just be. You can relax around that breath. You can allow for release around the shoulders and the jaw and behind the forehead. As you come into this stillness and this silence, feel free to stay here as long as you would like, allowing yourself to continue to touch base with yourself in a way that feels good to you. Anytime you're ready to come out of the meditation, you can wiggle your hands, roll your shoulders, and begin to move a little bit more. And then following that movement, placing the hands at the heart, tucking the chin, and thanking yourself for this beautiful practice. Thank you so very much for being here. I'm Valerie with Valerie Cation Yoga. Have a wonderful day.